You wake up and the world feels too heavy for your shoulders. It's not the kind of tired that a good night's sleep can fix. It's something deeper, something older, as if your soul is carrying the weight of 1,000 unlived lives. You look in the mirror and see someone who should be doing more, being more, achieving more. The voice in your head whispers, lazy, undisciplined, failure. But what if I told you that you're none of those things? What if I told you that what you call laziness is actually the desperate cry of a soul dying of spiritual starvation? We live in an age where we optimize everything except our existence. We measure steps, calories, productivity, likes, views. We've built an entire civilization dedicated to perpetual motion, maximum efficiency, constant doing. And in the middle of this frantic dance, we've forgotten the most fundamental question of all. Why are we dancing? Where are we running to with such haste? What are we trying to reach with this desperate urgency that consumes our days? The truth is, you're not lazy. You're spiritually starving. There's an abyssal difference between these two things, a difference our society refuses to acknowledge because it's more profitable to sell you products for your lack of discipline than to confront the existential void that permeates our era. It's easier to convince you that you need more coffee, more motivation, more productivity apps, than to admit that the problem isn't in your willpower, but in the complete absence of real meaning in your life. Look at your routine for a moment. How many of your daily activities actually feed your soul? How often do you stop to ask yourself if what you're doing has any purpose beyond simply filling the time between birth and death? Most of us live on autopilot, executing an infinite sequence of tasks imposed on us by a society that has completely lost its spiritual compass. We wake up, check our phones, work jobs that don't inspire us, consume entertainment that doesn't nourish us, sleep exhausted, and repeat it all the next day. And then we wonder why we feel empty, why it's so hard to get out of bed, why each day feels like an impossible mountain to climb. You can't motivate yourself for this life because somewhere deep inside you, your soul knows this isn't real life. It's just survival disguised as existence. Your supposed laziness is actually a form of unconscious resistance. It's your deepest essence refusing to participate in a charade that makes no sense. It's your inner being saying no to a reality that doesn't serve your spiritual growth. Modern society has created an epidemic of spiritual hunger, unprecedented in human history. Never before have so many people had access to so much material comfort, while simultaneously feeling so lost, so disconnected, so empty. We have everything our ancestors dreamed of having, but we've lost everything they held most precious. Connection to the sacred, to nature, to the mystery of existence, to our own souls. We've traded sacred rituals for mechanical routines, spiritual communities for social networks, inner seeking for external entertainment. And then, when this spiritual hunger manifests as lethargy, as demotivation, as that constant feeling that something is missing, the very society that created the problem offers you the solution. More productivity, more goals, more discipline. It's like offering more exercise to someone who's dying of hunger. The problem isn't lack of movement, it's lack of nourishment. And the nourishment your soul needs can't be bought, can't be optimized, can't be gamified. Your soul hungers for real purpose, not artificial goals. It thirsts for authentic connection, not strategic networking. It yearns for transcendence, for something that goes beyond the suffocating smallness of daily life. It wants to participate in something bigger, more beautiful, more meaningful than the infinite race for status, money, and social approval. And when you deny this hunger, when you try to silence it with distractions and obligations, it manifests as what you call laziness. But notice how you're not lazy for things that truly matter to you. When something awakens your genuine passion, when something touches your soul authentically, you find energy you didn't even know you had. You can spend hours absorbed in deep conversation, in creative activity, in an experience that connects you to something greater. The energy is there. It always has been. The problem is that most of your life doesn't offer worthy channels for this energy to flow. The culture of hustle and constant productivity is actually a form of inverted spirituality. Instead of seeking inner meaning, it promises that meaning will come through outer conquest. Instead of cultivating presence and awareness, it demands perpetual movement and constant distraction. Instead of honoring the natural rhythms of the soul, it imposes an artificial machine-like pace. And when you can't keep up with this inhuman rhythm, the blame falls on you. You're the problem. You're lazy. You need to try harder. But what if the problem wasn't you? What if the problem was a system that completely disconnected doing from being, that separated action from meaning, that transformed complex, multidimensional human beings into one-dimensional productive units? A system that promises happiness through external achievements, but never teaches anyone to find inner peace. That offers infinite ways to occupy time, but no way to fully inhabit the present moment. You feel lazy because your soul is trying to protect you from a life that doesn't serve your spiritual growth. It's creating resistance because it recognizes, even unconsciously, that much of what you do daily doesn't contribute to who you really are or could become. Your supposed lack of motivation is actually disguised wisdom. It's your deepest essence saying you deserve more than a mechanical, soulless existence. Spiritual hunger manifests in 1,000 different ways. As chronic procrastination in the face of meaningless tasks, as unexplained fatigue even after physical rest, as the constant feeling of living someone else's life, as addiction to distractions and superficial entertainment, as the inability to get excited about achievements that should make you happy, as the sensation of playing a character in a play you never chose to be part of. All these symptoms aren't signs of weakness or lack of character. They're signs of a soul desperately trying to get your attention. It's your deepest essence reminding you that you came to this world for something more than simply occupying space and consuming resources. You came to grow, to contribute, to connect, to transcend, to participate in the sacred mystery of existence. And when your life doesn't offer opportunities for this sacred participation, your soul rebels. The question isn't how to become more productive within a system that doesn't feed your soul. The question is how to reconnect your daily life with your deepest purpose, how to find the sacred in the midst of the mundane, how to transform mechanical actions into conscious rituals, how to align what you do with who you are. It's not about doing more, it's about doing with more presence, more intention, more connection to your inner truth. The first step isn't creating a more efficient to-do list. The first step is to stop. Stop completely. Sit in silence and ask the question you've been avoiding. Who are you when you remove all the masks, all the roles, all the external expectations? What does your soul truly desire? Not what you think you should desire, not what society says you should want, but what emerges naturally when you create space to listen to your inner voice. This process of spiritual reconnection isn't comfortable. It will require you to question almost everything about how you've been living. It will demand that you face the emptiness you've been trying to fill with distractions. It will require courage to live differently in a society that punishes those who dare to step off the pre-established script. But on the other side of that courage is a life worth living. A life where your energy flows naturally because it's aligned with your purpose. A life where you don't need to force yourself to do things because they make sense in the larger context of your journey. Spiritual reconnection happens in layers. First, you need to recognize that the problem isn't you. It's the disconnection between your current life and your essential nature. Second, you need to create sacred spaces in your routine, moments of silence, contemplation, connection with something greater than your immediate concerns. Third, you need to start making conscious choices about how you spend your energy, prioritizing activities that nourish your soul instead of just occupying your time. This might mean saying no to commitments that don't serve your growth. It might mean seeking work that has personal meaning, even if it requires temporary material sacrifices. It might mean cultivating deeper, more authentic relationships, even if it means having fewer superficial acquaintances. It might mean dedicating regular time to practices that connect you with your spiritual dimension. Meditation, contemplation in nature, art, music, literature that touches your soul. Most importantly, understand that spiritual reconnection isn't about following a specific religion or adopting exotic practices. It's about remembering that you're more than your thoughts, more than your emotions, more than your circumstances. It's about recognizing that there's a sacred dimension to your human experience, that can't be quantified or optimized, but can be cultivated and honored. When you begin to feed your soul with real purpose, with authentic connection, with moments of transcendence, something magical happens. That constant feeling of heaviness begins to dissipate. You find energy for things that truly matter. Not because you forced yourself to have discipline, but because your life finally makes sense. You're no longer swimming against the current of your own nature. The supposed laziness transforms into spiritual discernment. You become selective about where you invest your energy because you recognize its sacred value. You no longer want to waste your life force on activities that don't contribute to your growth or the greater good. This isn't laziness, it's wisdom. This isn't lack of discipline, it's discipline directed toward what truly matters. You'll begin to notice that the constant fatigue wasn't about insufficient sleep. It was about living an insufficient life. The demotivation wasn't about lack of goals. It was about goals that didn't touch your soul. The procrastination wasn't about poor time management. It was about using your time in ways that didn't honor your deepest essence. A spiritually nourished life isn't free from challenges or difficulties, but it's a life where challenges make sense in the larger context of your journey. It's a life where you're willing to face difficulties because they serve your growth. It's a life where you find meaning even in suffering because you recognize its transformative potential. When your soul is well fed, you don't need external motivation to live fully. Motivation emerges naturally from connection to your purpose. You don't need to force yourself to be productive because your productivity serves something sacred. You don't need to desperately seek happiness because you find deep satisfaction in the simple act of being aligned with your inner truth. So the next time that critical voice whispers that you're lazy, stop and listen more deeply. Hear what your soul is really trying to tell you. It's not asking for more discipline, more productivity, more empty achievements. It's pleading for spiritual nourishment, for authentic purpose, for real connection to the sacred mystery of being alive. You're not lazy. You're a starving soul living in a culture that forgot how to feed the spirit. But now you know. And knowing is the first step to beginning to nourish yourself in ways that truly matter. Your journey of spiritual reconnection begins now, in this moment, with the simple decision to honor the deep wisdom that has always lived within you. The soul you've been neglecting is waiting to flourish. It's waiting to show you how much energy, passion, and purpose you truly possess when your life is aligned with your deepest truth.